presentation.
So can you see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Asma. Today we will talk about monitoring children's social media. We will start first from table of contents that we will talk about introduction and some title like children freedom, child psychology, children's rights, and parents interfere in their children's life, then solution, then conclusion. Introduction. Social media is a big part of many teens' life. Between the age of 13 and 17, found that 45% of them are online almost continuously, and 97% use social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. So parents don't want to sit back and watch their children as they get older doing something that they feel isn't right for them. They don't want to look on quietly and watch them make mistakes. They want to be able to give them advice and help them. So for this reason, some parents take from their children their freedom. Children freedom. Some reason why parents should give their children a good amount of freedom is trust. Kids are more likely to rebel if you don't, and kids will be negative toward you. If you ground a child for too long, they will feel trapped and want to get out. This is the main cause for rebelling and will continue to be until parents see that grounding is a cruel and harmful punishment, because nowadays kids have to live up to their parents' expectation, and if they don't, then they are usually grounded. So for me, trust is the biggest between parents and their children. Trust is a fundamental building block for all relationship. You must trust your child and give him freedom to decide and choose. Child psychology. Every child needs a space in his private life. Parents spying on their children and monitoring their every moment may affect the child's psyche, causing him to have a complex that may last with him throughout his life. We often see people behaving abnormally, and that is a result of something he lived from in his childhood. So parents did not give their children freedom is one of those reasons. Children's rights. The task of education, care, and inclusion was never easy for parents, especially since parents try to provide the best for their children to the extent that the support and attention to them may extend even to the period in which they also become parents, which make the matter difficult for both parties. So every child has the right to privacy. The law must protect children's privacy and have the right to receive information from the internet, radio, television, newspapers, books, and more. And also every child has a right to enjoy his own life. He has a right to express his opinion in his own way, use media, social media, and learn about the world. So should parents ever interfere in their children's life? According to me, parents should not interfere with their children's shoes. Indeed, children must be self-sufficient, so they must learn from their own mistakes. Whatever that is children's life, so they should lead it the way they want. They have to make their own choice and make their own life experience. Overprotecting your children is not a good idea, because that will have the opposite effect. Your children will not be fulfilled as he should. Solution. Parents have a guiding role to perform, as they must educate their children. They must assist them in their choice. I think that parents have to give to their children the better education as possible, so that they could become what they want. Moreover, parents are here to remind their children about when they do something stupid or some mistake. So in my opinion, all this is concerned while the upbringing of parents and the way they treat their children. So if parents have already raised their children in a valid way, they will not need to monitor or spy on them. And finally, conclusion, all parents love their children and try to provide as much as possible to protect them and lead them to the right path. So excessive pressure on the child may cause counterproductive results. So parents must first do the right education and explain to the child the difference between wrong and right and give him a special space in his personal life. And finally, remember, you are not going to give a judgment or give an opinion on your child. You are just watching to be aware of him and what is happening with him. And finish. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see. One thing that I was wondering about that is before I guess I'll go ahead and ask first, and then others can chime in when they're ready as well. Is so I have 3 small children at home, and I know I've heard stories, like I've read articles about, where you'll have adults who pretend to be children, who pretend to be little children on the internet, and trick kids into coming out and meeting with them, and they can do bad things to them. Is there not any type of responsibility on the parents' part to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen? And how could the parent prevent such a thing without monitoring the child's account?
Sir, in the last one, I don't hear your voice. Can you?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can't hear you, sir.
Okay, I'll type it. Oh, yeah, okay.
Sir, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Sir?
I don't know why you can't hear me. I don't know if anyone else is having a problem.
I think you have kind of internet problem, but I was able to hear you clearly before. So it happened a minute ago or so.
This was my question.
If you repeated your question, we weren't able to hear it.
Yes, Professor, we couldn't hear you. I think there are some problem with your internet connection.
Can you hear me, sir, now?
Okay, am I back now? I'm trying to reconnect to the internet now.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So I went ahead and typed in the questions there. I hope you can see them.
Yes, I see. So, in my opinion, I think the parents have the responsibility because children, they didn't know anything. They didn't know what is the difference between the wrong and the right things. So parents should first give a best education for the children. This is my
So not to monitor, but to educate their children how to use social media rather than monitoring the usage, is what you're saying?
yes.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions as well? It looks like Melody has his hand up.
Actually, people without children thinks that children can be considered as a person, but as a father of 3 children, I would like to hear your opinion about this topic. What do you think about their privacy, or what kind of interventions should be done in order to protect them?
Nice.
Because
Put me on the spot. You know, it's a very difficult question. I think it's why I put all these questions into this format for you guys to research, is because as often is true in life, there's not a one answer to every question, right? And these are a lot of questions that are being debated and trying to figure out. I would say I'll give you an example. My wife has access to all of my accounts, like my email accounts, my social media accounts. I don't use my social media a lot. I have a Facebook account that I hardly use. But my wife has access to them all, and it's because I don't want to have any secrets from her. She doesn't necessarily check up on them. She doesn't look at them because she trusts me. But at the same time, I know that at any point, if I did anything wrong on there, that she would be able to have access to look there. And I think probably for me in our situation, I have 3 young children, 11, 8, and 6 years old, who, yeah, I can teach them some things about how to use social media properly, but I still think there's a concern that they're young and they don't know some of the tricks that other people might use on them. Yeah, exactly. Like Mehmet Gorkem is saying, that's probably one of my biggest concerns is seeing how many times children will be communicating with someone they think is about their age, like a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old other person. And that person will say, "Oh, come meet me at the park." And they will go and meet, and very bad things can happen to the child in that situation because the other person wasn't really a 12 or 13-year-old. It was actually a 30-year-old adult or 35-year-old adult. And so I think that would be something where I would be very concerned about, and yeah, that kind of thing as well. Yeah, so I think it's probably very difficult. I want to try. I want to allow my children to have the freedom to communicate with their friends without me, looking at all of their messages, and I don't have time to do all that anyway. But at the same time, I do know that they're not as aware. I'm not as aware of all the tricks that someone might use. So I don't know if I could feel confident that I could train them and teach them before they're an adult, like as Mehmet Gorkem is mentioning, that by the time Mehmet Ali mentions there that it would take so long that they wouldn't even be a child anymore by the time we were able to adequately train them. Yeah. So, but it is a question I have to answer soon. My children are getting older. Good question, Melly. All right. Does anyone have any other questions for Asma before we end this presentation and move to our final one of the day? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Asma.
You're welcome, sir.